Greetings, everyone. How are you? I hope all is well. Um, Today, I want to introduce myself. I am Dr. Mama Noni Davis, and I am the legacy owner of Sya Academy, a private school here in Durham, African centered, 28 years. My parents, Sylvia Davis and William Edward Davis, opened the school back in 1996, and we are here to provide an African centered education for children from pre K all the way through 12th grade. Today, I want to share with you a conversation I had with my mother earlier this week, um, and my daughter-in-law earlier this week, and we were just discussing the controversy around um, Beyonce and African Americans in country music, and I was really intrigued by it because I have heard, I think they call themselves the Chocolate Drops, which is an African American group from Appalachia who plays banjo, and they're country music, folk music group right here in North Carolina that I was introduced to through African American Dance Ensemble here in Durham, North Carolina. The great late Dr. Baba Chuck Davis, and so it's interesting how people, while many of us know African Americans are familiar with our legacy of Africans in country music, blues, and all of that particular genre. I thought it would be interesting for us to actually get a lesson on the ancestral legacy of this music. And so I wanted to start with the roots of country music are found in both Africa and Europe. And that's a well-known fact, and we're not going to take anything from our European human companions. We're going to let them have their part, but we must acknowledge our own legacy in this area. So Africans' influence, of course, all of us know it dominates almost every American genre of music: jazz, rock and roll, blues, folk music, bluegrass. I see gospel, ragtime. Let's see, the rings just started with the ring shout, folk music, big band music, hip hop, etc. These are genres that we have influenced from their origin. So according to the African American Registry, which is a really dynamic website that I recommend that folks check out, states that the banjo is actually an original American concept that developed in Jamaica in the late 1600s. That's the earliest recorded um, uh, knowledge of this particular instrument. I was surprised because I just assumed it was something that was in the United States, but no, its origins are in Jamaica, Haiti, St. Kitts. I want to make sure I get everybody: St. Croix, Barbados, Suriname, St. Kitts. I think I mentioned that. And so the earliest date of its existence here in the United States is traced back to South Carolina. South Carolina got it going on. That's origin of most African Americans beginning in this country. I think like 40% of us came through South Carolina. So that was not unusual for me. But what was interesting is that it was 1790. It was in a painting by John Rose, in a painting called the On the Plantation. Um, I printed a copy of it, but I don't have it with me. But I wanted you. I'm sure that a lot of us have seen it. It's a scene that depicts an African man, enslaved man, dancing. He is dressed in a white wig and in a fancy dress, and he is doing a little dance on it with his hands on his hip, and you have an elder playing a banjo. And so that picture was painted in 1790 in South Carolina. And so with that, so the basic origins of the banjo are of the actual instrument are here from the Americas. It's not from Africa. But who is the ancestor of this instrument, the banjo? So the banjo ancestors are called the buchando, which is an instrument that's from Gambia and Senegal, or the akanting, which is an instrument from Gambia and from Senegal and the Gambia. Then you have the kora or the ngoni. Now I have an example of. I'm going to turn around here and get my instrument. So this is a kora. This is ngoni. Okay, so this is the ngoni, and you can see that it's got the strings and it's got the gourd. When I was in Sierra Leone, we saw these. I saw these gourds growing on trees naturally in the wild. Just in the pathways, the walking pathways. You can see that it has the long wooden neck here, and that the front of it is this is goat skin here. That is on the top, and this is wood or gourd on the back. And of course, it's very decorative. Now, the difference between the kora and the ngoni is the number of strings. So I believe the kora has more strings on it than um, the ngoni. But this is an ancestor to the banjo. I also have a instrument over here, which has four strings, which may be similar, kind of similar to um, a banjo. You've got the gourd here. You've got the wooden attachment. You have the strings and the ability to adjust the tones, because they said that on the African instruments, the banjo particularly, you usually had the strings were different lengths. So I don't know if you can see that, but the string here is shorter than the string here. And so each one of them has different tensions. And so so this would be closer to an actual banjo, but I'm not sure whether it's a bunchando or a akonting. Not sure. I think the akonting has a longer neck. But anyway, so these instruments are the ancestors to the actual banjo. And they also have the Iwawa, which is an instrument in Togo, Benin. They have the Kabura. They have the Kamsa Washe, and from in Nigeria and Ghana. And so we know that from Senegal, Mali, all the way around to Congo, Angola, these were the people who were brought here, taken and brought here because of their knowledge of cotton, their knowledge of growing indigo, their knowledge of growing rice, and their knowledge of, from what I've said in other presentations that we had with boating, their skills, we know blacksmithing, all of these things were the skills that were needed in order to build America. And so this slave labor camp took our talents and used them. But while we were crossing this ocean, it didn't mean that we forgot who we were, and we're constantly trying to make these um, maintain this alliance or this connection to our people, via spiritual systems, via spiritual practices, via food ways, and of course, like I said, in a thing about the boating, that we were even designing our boats the same way, and in order to navigate those swamp areas. And we also were maintaining our connection through our music, and the development of instruments. And so these are the instruments. I also want to show. Well, let's see. Let's go on and move on with the banjo before I go to the other instruments. So, how did the banjo become associated with white culture? Um, is It's what it always is. You have white performers, copied African American performers, and they, had blackface, and so these were the minstrels, and they literally co-opted the banjo. They co-opted our style of singing, mimicked our style of singing, and then our rhythmic style. And they, because they had access to resources, they were able to travel abroad. They were able to travel all over America, travel all over Europe, and even to Australia. And they carried our tradition with them and made it international. Are we surprised? No, we're not surprised. Okay, so we've got our jazz has been traveled, taken internationally. Rock and roll has been taken internationally. And so country music was the same way. It was literally something that we created here. The banjo, the instrument, the banjo was literally something taken from our creative genius and taken abroad. And so this is it's, it's our stuff as always. Now, why were people? What was another tradition that was associated with the quarter and the banjo? Was this was part of the griot history telling, um, uh, sharing storytelling to the community to reinforce cultural values, cultural meaning making, morality, good character, reinforcing those particular values through the griot and the jolly. What we would call a jolly Musa, jolly Ba, and what when it was transplanted here to the Americas, the United States, and the Caribbean, the same thing occurred. People used the banjo for merrymaking, for storytelling, sharing values of the community. A lot of songs were coded with messages. I think I can't remember who it was. This, oh my goodness, it has escaped me. But the person who wrote the song, the first time the words "Stay Woke" was a song that was blues, and it was around the same time that there was a lot of racial tension, a lot of um, backlash on African Americans as they were as they were moving, migrating from the south to the north back. So this would be the late 1800s, early 1900s. And so one of the lyrics in the song was "Stay woke." We got to be awake because these people are here acting crazy, and retaliating against our communities. And so that was through country music, or what we would call bluegrass. And if someone knows that information, it would be great if we could share it. Um, now, uh, Now I'm going to get to the other instruments that were part introduced to America. That were not just country music, but it was really interesting to me because I always find all this interesting information. So behind me is the balafon, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with the balafon, but the balafon looks like a xylophone. I'm gonna just lift it up so you can see it. So that's the balafon, and this instrument is the ancestor, is a well birthed the xylophone. That's the ancestor to the balafon, and then we have flute instruments. All of these instruments are origins, have their origins in our in Africa, and these are brought to the United States. This is a Fulani flute. I cannot play it, so I'm not even going to try. But I just want to see it. So these are the wind instruments that we brought to the states. This is an example of one of them. Then there was also a panpipe, which I have. I don't have one of those here, but I do have the djembe. And over here to my left, I move. We have the set. We have the dune, the kinkini, and the samban, and then we have the bell. So what's interesting about this set of the djembe and these uh, four instruments and this bell is its connection to of a drum roll, the 5-piece drum set. I thought that was incredible because I have a student who is studying the connection between these two, and so what we have found out is that in New Orleans in 1896, according to the Smithsonian Music, the birth of the drum set, there was this gentleman named D.D. Chandler. So D.D. Chandler was an African American who lived in New Orleans and was part of this musical group and was very wanted to find a way to incorporate all of the drum sounds. And what are the drum sounds? You got the bass, the dun dun. You want it, you had a higher pitched bass, a drum, which would be, I guess, the tom tom. Then you had the kinkini, which was the highest drum. And then you had the cymbal, which would be like the bell. Okay. And then the djembe would be the main drum. And so even with the drum sets here, the extension is that it may not have been directly created by us, but even with that drum set, we are all they've already established the drums are an African creation from BC, thousands of years BC. But now we can also see how we influence, because D.D. Chandler was an African man, mixed race man, but this idea, his whole crew was African American, but even the concept of the djembe drum is something that has influenced um, the drum set that we have here in the states now. And what he did with the bass drum was that he's the one that created that pedal to hold the rhythm. And um and they said he was a fantastic drummer. He was one of the best drummers in his in 1890s or to 1900s, early 1900s. So even through 1918, they said by 1918, the whole drum set was created during the jazz era, which is our our that which is, well, that's our stuff, right? One of the things I did forget to talk about was the construction of these of the banjo versus the kora. There's is very the similarity in their construction is the same. You have the flat face, um, the strings for, well, this is a modern day ngoni, but they said the strings were made from animal fiber or animal skin or membrane or fiber, vegetable fiber. The skin was usually made from goat skin, so that was skin membrane, and it was pulled over the gourd, which we have here. And then this stick right here was supposed it says it was a bridge for the strings, and so you see the strings here are moved through this base, this bridge piece right here, and then they're connected to the neck of the wood. And then once again you have these adjustments of the strings because each string is a different length and gives you a different tone. And there you have the I don't want it to fall on the floor. So the strings of different length and the gourd shape is instinctively African, and that is also according to the Smithsonian Music. So as we so what does this have to do with Beyonce? One of the things we have to remember is that whenever we have this pushback, we have to be able to engage in conversation of about it through an intellectual lens, or some kind of understanding that is um, fact based. I'll just put it like that. What are the facts? So the banjo is one of the main instruments that's associated. You got the guitar, of course, but the banjo is heavily associated with country music. And so the what we said, like I said before, the banjo is an African American instrument, yes, but it was influenced by the music from by instruments in Africa, and even the style of singing was influenced by West Africa. And so, what I wanted to do is play for you I don't know how many of you are familiar with Taj Mahal, but Taj Mahal is a blues artist. And in 1999, he joined this gentleman, Tumani Jabati, and they had a concert here in North Carolina. And it must have been like 1999 when the album was just released, or the music was just released. And the thing that they wanted to do was show the historical link between country music, southern music, and uh, West Africa. And it was something to behold. Let me see if I can play some of this to you, for you. And this is Queen Bee. And if you, so this is, um, this instrument is the kora. And if you notice the beat, the rhythm of it, this is Taj Mahal singing. Beyonce, the Queen Bee. And so that's just an excerpt that I thought was um, poignant. You know, it absolutely shows the influence of banjo music. I want to see if I can find contemporary banjo, African banjo players, American banjo banjo players, and see if we can find videos of them. Your pain. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna let it load first, but so we can see the link between these instruments and the historical link between it. So we'll know this is not speculation. This is definitely.
I thought I was going to be a psychology major in college, and then I realized I was making all of my papers about the banjo anyway. My name is Jake Blunt. I am a performer and scholar of traditional Black folk music. I live in Providence, Rhode Island. Altamont.
Okay, so if that doesn't sound like the kora or the same kind of cadence in the rhythm, you have the same fluidity of the music. I don't know what else to tell you because this is our music, this is our legacy, and I really wanted to purchase a banjo, and then I saw that the average cost of them is about $11,000 to $12,000, and I was like, oh, never mind. But that's our legacy, and once again, there are people who are, what's the word that we were using today in class? That we're literally being oh, I can't remember it, but African Americans are exploitation. That was the word. Once again, our music is exploited. A lot of times we begin something and then we pass it on to another group of people, or Europeans co-opt it. Like I said, with the banjo, take it over, and then it becomes, and then our presence in it is nullified. And uh, more and more often than not, we need to make it our business, make it um, our uh, goal to make sure we pass this on to our children.
I was just popping in. I believe the word you were looking for, and I put it in chat and everything, was cultural appropriation. Because I know a lot of times people will talk about cultural appropriation and how that is
Yes.
oftentimes done in both African American and Native American societies
Yes.
as well. Because a lot of times people have even used terms like I remember the Washington team used to be called the Redskins, and even my own alma mater used to be called the Warriors because before we became the Golden Eagles. So I do know that sometimes there's this notion of cultural appropriation and all along
Yes.
the lines. So that might have
Yes.
been the word that you were trying to think of.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And it's true because we know that even with Native Americans, their music is probably the only original music in the states. Um, but the but with African Americans, as far as the Americas concerned, I'm not talking about people who are here, Turtle Island folks. I'm talking about the Americans, the folks who illegally immigrated to this country in the 1500s, 1600s, down in the Caribbean and South America and here in the States. Um, and uh, saw people still try to hold on to their culture and still hold on to their ways of knowing and still find ways to celebrate life. And um, that was taken. A lot of it was taken from us. And like Baba said, it's cultural appropriation. And then we get lost and don't know how this relates to us. So we too look at, oh, if you don't live in Texas or you don't live in Arizona, Arkansas, or places where Southern music and where that music is played, you're like, oh, these white people music. But one of the things I have noticed is that, and I'm in a community with African people, that when they hear country music, they like it. And my understanding, once I made that bridge between the understanding the listening to a kora and then or ngoni and then listening to a banjo, I was like, okay, I get it. This music is really ours. And so that's all I have to say. Going back to Beyonce, you guys want to enjoy that music, make sure that you're telling everybody, yep, 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 that's ours. And, wear your cowboy hat or your cowgirl hat if you want to and celebrate it because that is our music too. Just like the jazz, just like the blues, just like the bluegrass, all of it, is heavily influenced by our ancestors. And it's not about taking other people's stuff, but it's just celebrating what your own people have done and brought to it. And so thank you. I hope you all enjoyed this discussion, and peace and love and blessings to everybody. Amen. Ashe.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course, I walk into the sound of drums.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course, I know my mother.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course, I can play the drum.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course, I can work with my hands.
I'm a St. Sya student.
You know how people love to enjoy food and don't understand how to flavor their food or how to replicate a meal? They're interested in supplements but don't know where to begin? Well, what I do is I take the guesswork out of enjoying flavor and wellness with my flavorful spice blends so that they can create delicious meals with healing benefits. Can Do Spice was created to help cooks at any level enjoy healing through food. Every spice blend was designed to give added health benefits of natural herbs. Every blend is complete. There's no need to add any additional spice for a delicious meal. Saving you time and money while adding supplements to your meals can be both tasty and fun. My earliest memories in the kitchen began with my father, Kenny Can Do Bond, so it was fitting that I would name this line after him. I have always looked to natural remedies to supplement the body, and I found myself hiding herbs and minerals in foods for my family. That's when it hit me. Everyone needs Can Do Spice. Everyone should be having this. It's an exclusive brand for cooks at any level who want to create flavorful dishes with healing benefits that can satisfy the body and soul. Add a little spice to your life. Give Can Do Spice a try.